Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar Aftershow. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the Aftershow today is the Director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Great, and today's instructor. Today's class was Top Risks to Watch in 2026, and our instructor is and was and always will be Dr. Brenda Wells to us. Brenda, great to have you in the Aftershow. It's great to be here, and thank you for teaching the class today. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a good time putting it together, and I always enjoy working with the Academy of Insurance, and you two are great to work with, and it's just a fun time.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. So why were these the top risks? And I could tell right away, like I thought you might mix a couple of fun risks in there, like peanut butter and jelly exclusions or juggling liability, but no, you went right for like the dire stuff. I just I wanted, what's and you said also, I'll just ask you two questions at once. So why did you go for these as the top risks? And you didn't rank them, but you said that as much in the class, but what would you say would be the top risk? I would guess climate change, but maybe there's one or other that are a toe tapper that you want to talk about.
Well, I think climate change is, well, they're all important. That's why I didn't rank them. They're all critical. It's not like a peanut butter and jelly exclusion. We're destroying our environment. And I am not one of those tree hugging, that's not me. But through my research, I have learned how many dangerous situations we have created for ourselves. And I just feel like the climate is the first one that needs to be addressed, because it's going to require people to stop burning fossil fuels. And I don't think they're going to do that in this country. I just don't think they are. They'll do it in Europe. But I believe, my memory's rusty, but I think it was France that outlawed fossil fuel burning cars by a certain year. I know I read that somewhere. It was some country that had done that, and I think it was France. Our government's not doing anything about this. They're going drill, baby, drill. And I mean, fossil fuels release carbon, and we only need so much carbon in the air. And, I always see where businesses will say, oh, this packaging is a zero carbon footprint. And I always wonder, does it really? Or is that just something you printed on the box to make people feel better? I think they're all like the microplastics, that can be in your brain. That's nothing to mess with. And we're not doing anything to stop the use of plastic other than some cursory measures. It's going to be up to scientists to build a decomposable plastic. But they're working on it. And I felt like these were the risks that people need to know about.
Brenda, I was having trouble coming up with something to say about, I was like, well, microplastics. What about macroplastics? They're so big. They could fall. I was having trouble coming up with some, because this is obviously near and dear to you. So never mind. Macroplastics.
You could have done it, George.
How I was gonna say, how big does a macroplastic have to be to engender liability? But I'll ask you a real question, which is, and you kind of asked it in the sort of like rhetorically in the class. You said that according to scientists, it can take 1,000 years for a microplastic to biodegrade or whatever. But
no, that was PFAS.
Oh, PFAS. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I asked that then. Never mind. How do they know that? How do they know it's going to be 1,000 years? You asked that, and how do we know that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think they do know. Because if it doesn't break down in, it started, like I said, I think it was invented in the 30s and then patented or whatever in the early 1940s, but don't quote me on that. The stuff still isn't breaking down after 70, 80 years.
Right.
So I don't think they do know. I'm sure they have a scientific, wild, amazing guess. That I think that's what they're doing because they don't know. How can you know until it's degraded? Well, it was only invented 80 years ago.
Right.
So,
No,
and, once again, we know it's there and we know it's bad, but too many people are not doing anything about it. Just,
sure.
Excuse me, through my classes, I've taught PFAS several times. Mm-hmm. And I've got friends that are now very PFAS conscious. For instance, a very popular legging brand that they sell at the mall, those contain PFAS. Lots of clothing contains PFAS. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be on the label. You're going to have to ask because there's no labeling law required to do that.
Understood.
So, I just feel like average people, everyday people need to wake up to these realities.
Absolutely.
But because it's not going to get any better without some action and write your representatives. I would write mine, but he always writes me back and tells me whose fault it is that whatever I write him about, he blames somebody else. So I don't bother writing him anymore, but, write your representatives, write your senators.
Sure.
Because this is important and nobody's paying attention to it.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Brenda, thank you. Patrick, what do you think of, actually, she taught a bunch of topics today, little kind of a mini smorgasbord of them, but in terms of the total the risks for 2026, did you think that, what leapt out as the front runner to you in terms of a risk, like what, as far as what Brenda was talking about?
Yeah. So when you start talking about things like microplastics, PFAS, climate change, things like that, you're in the realm of existential level risks, things that are truly long-term, potentially harmful, not just for the insurance world, but people, right? We're seeing now where the firefighters and those exposed to PFAS at a high level are dealing with the physical and familial and financial and emotional repercussions of what happens when somebody gets sick unexpectedly from something they didn't even know they were going to deal with, right? And so, we're dealing with that. And some of these things from an insurance standpoint, all of these risks mean that someone somewhere is going to pay for these issues. And it may not be that there's a PFAS litigation that hits today, and it may not hit next year, but the tipping point will come, right? Mm-hmm. And it's generally, when you see these kinds of risks, it's not the first suit that hits, it's the second or third even, or eventually the issues that cause the initial suits to fail get overcome. So that's why we're still seeing asbestos suits even in 2025 and asbestos payouts because of that exposure that we've been addressing for now years. And so those kinds of things, these kinds of issues are very real from an insurance standpoint. And then you start thinking about this litigation funding thing. Now, from a purely insurance standpoint, this is one of those topics that has been incredibly fascinating to me, simply because of I was not expecting, for lack of a better way to put it, venture capital to end up in this part of the economy, but here we are. And so now what we're seeing is people who would have potentially waited 2 years, 5 years, or longer for money related to these suits. They're getting more of that up front. And then when the thing finally settles or goes to court and goes to a jury, those verdicts that hit, much of that money has potentially already been used on the front end, and it's going to the financiers with interest. And one of the things that's most troubling to me in that is that nobody really knows how much interest many of these will pay. And so you have this lawsuit that settles or goes to a jury or whatever. And at the end of the day, by the time it's finished, the injured person, will they actually be made whole from their losses, or will much of that could have helped them for years or decades in the future, if there's a long-term bodily injury issue, how much of that money is going to go into the pockets of the people who fronted the money in the first place?
Yeah.
And so what looks like a good idea for the people who've had injuries on the front end turns into, in my mind, more of a paycheck cashing scheme. I don't have a better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, and I'm sure there are situations where the terms and conditions are very restrictive and very much in favor of the investor and not the person who was injured.
For sure.
And so I think these transparency laws are very timely
and necessary.
They're timely and they're necessary because, and unsuspecting plaintiffs who are not savvy in the risk management and insurance world won't know what hit them until it's already run them over.
Yep.
So the third party litigation funding is a slippery slope, real slippery slope.
I do have a question, Brenda, and
okay.
This is only marginally semi-serious. Are you planning to trade the Mustang for a Mustang E-Mach?
No.
That's it. That's the answer.
Mic drop moment right there.
No. And my car actually gets good mileage. It gets 30 miles to the gallon.
See?
So it's more fuel efficient. I bought the low end Mustang. I didn't buy the GT, which gets about 12 miles to the gallon. But my next car will probably be electric.
We have a hybrid electric. It's excellent.
Yeah, my dad has a hybrid vehicle that he doesn't have to charge it. But,
yeah, same.
Yeah, and a friend of mine has a Tesla, and she loves it. Thinks it's the best car in the world. She's driven from North Carolina to Oregon and back in it.
Okay.
And well, I don't know if she drove or the car drove, but she loves her electric car. And I just got this one last year when I was in a bad wreck, and they totaled my other car. So I got this one. And, I moved out of town. I live about 30 minutes from campus. So an electric car would make a lot of sense for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've driven, there was a hybrid sort that could also be plugged in. Or the car can charge the batteries, and then enjoyed driving. It was nice driving. We have a coworker who has got an electric car who absolutely loves it. One of the things that he says you got to watch out for is the braking system. Braking in an electric car is different, or can be, because they use regenerative brakes the brakes will recharge the batteries some. But if you brake like you brake in a standard car, it doesn't do that. So he had to remember when he's not in his car to not just let the brakes kind of coast itself down and actually brake like you would in a normal car.
Okay.
So be aware of that. Watch your braking when you get that.
Okay. It'll be a while before I make that investment. Because it's just me and I only need one car. So, but yeah, I've toyed with getting an electric when I get tired of this one or decide I want a second vehicle.
Brenda, this is the last time we're going to see you in 2025. Thank you so much you teach and help us so much. We really appreciate it. Are we going to see you? I think you alluded to it, but are we going to see you in 2026 for some new classes?
Yeah, we got space junk. I'm so excited about space junk class.
Yep, I'm going to do space junk in January. And what am I doing? What else am I doing?
I'll tell you.
I can't remember.
All right.
Well, everyone out there that isn't a member yet, Brenda's classes are amazing. Join the academy. We know a guy that can give you a deal. Dr. Brenda Wells' classes are just one big reason why you should join. So just
thank you, George.
Shill that for us. And you, go ahead.
This is something that I was wondering if you'd hit on in this class, but you're talking about autonomous vehicles also next year,
right?
And that's going to be interesting. I don't know if you saw this or not, but we've had our first documented in autonomous vehicle childbirth. A woman got a Waymo to take her to the hospital while she was in labor and had the baby before they got there.
Wow. I had not heard that.
That happened. I saw it yesterday or today. I think it may have been today.
Yeah.
A cheerful way to end the after show. The first autonomous vehicle birth. Thanks, Patrick.
I'm just wondering if they charged her a cleaning fee.
That's an even better way to end the after show. So on that note, Dr. Brenda Wells, thank you so much for everything this year. We're looking forward to having you next year. Have a great holiday season. Patrick Raitt, thanks for being the director of the Academy Insurance, and thanks for being a constant great guest on the after show. We can't thank
it's our last after show of the year. We got to enjoy it for a minute.
And what a way to go. Brenda, thanks again. Patrick, thanks again. On behalf of Brenda and Patrick, this is your host, George, saying thanks everyone for coming to the after show. Tell your friends about the Academy. Tell your friends to have a great holiday season. Tell each other. So that's all I got. Thanks to you both, and have a great day. Take care.
And no cleaning fees.